So thank you everyone for joining us on our marketing sandwich course. Today we're speaking to Hayley Gillard about leadership. I met Hayley in the early days of Marketing Optimist when we were doing some consultations in and around Leeds. We were doing like a 3-hour consultation. We had a good chat, and then we did a further consultation, and then Hayley's business has developed even more. We had another consultation after that, and she's going great guns as far as I can see. And so it's always a pleasure to speak to Hayley, because there's always lots of enthusiasm and lots of great ideas come out. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Hayley. If you can tell us just a little bit about what you do, how your business works, and then we can move on to the kind of broader discussion of leadership and what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. Thanks for the intro. And you're absolutely right. I feel like I've kind of been there from the beginning of your journey, but you've been there from the beginning of mine. And that feels really nice to kind of see the transition happen. And I definitely wouldn't still be in business if it wasn't for you. I think we just need to say that right now.
Thank you very much.
You've rescued me on many an occasion. So, hi, I'm Hayley Gillard, and I run a leadership consultancy called Supercharged Leadership. So, Rich said at the beginning there that I'm enthusiastic and energetic, and I'm definitely a people person. And I very much called my business Supercharged Leadership for a reason. And the reason is because the thing that I'm absolutely passionate about is that empathy, compassion and kindness are essential leadership traits. And unfortunately, there are far too many people that I work with or just come across that believe that if you lead with empathy, compassion and kindness, that actually you'll be seen as weak, or you'll be seen as a bit of a pushover, or you won't be taken very seriously, and almost like you won't be able to demand respect from people if you're too nice. I say that in air quotes really deliberately. It's actually not the case at all. And I kind of spend my days at work showing people that actually they don't need to change. They don't need to become aggressive. They don't need to become obnoxious. They don't need to become horrible in order to get respect from people. And actually doing that will actually be worse for people respecting them.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of probably more important than ever with COVID. I say that because there are a lot of emotions going around workplaces at the moment. Naturally, for business owners, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of financial decision making, there's a lot of problem solving that has to be done. But also for employees, there's this kind of just unknown going on. And so leading with compassion is almost more important now than ever. And so essentially what I actually then, what does that actually mean in reality? Well, I help people to problem solve leadership challenges, so staffing issues, or let's say you've got somebody who's really unmotivated, or general challenges about how to move your business forward, but from a people perspective. And I also help kind of individual leaders, and I say leaders rather than managers because that's a real different thing. We can probably talk about it. I help leaders develop in their own confidence. So that might be that you want to feel more confident having a difficult conversation with a member of staff. That might be that you want to learn to public speak, or you want to address your board, or whatever that might be. It's that kind of being empathetic towards yourself as well, and understanding how you can grow in confidence. So that looks like one-to-one coaching, particularly in COVID, lots of Zoom calls, but normally outside of lockdown it's lots of kind of in-person training stuff. I do lots of group coaching, public speaking, that kind of thing, and kind of developing leadership programs, because I think the other thing is working with companies who have a compassionate ethos already and want to use that to train the future leaders of their company. So that kind of longer term leadership development stuff as well, but essentially it's about being nice.
Cool. Sophie's on the call, and Sophie, don't feel that you're kind of forced into saying this, but that's kind of how I like to think I lead. I guess I'm quite a reluctant leader in a way. Obviously, I started the business on my own, and then you soon realise that you need support, so you bring people in. And I've never been that kind of demonstrative leader who kind of barks and shouts. Not very often. I mean, I guess I probably do sometimes. So I guess I'm quite a reluctant leader, and I do always think that it takes time. You have to give time to listen to people and share their point of view, and then I think it's about having the courage to kind of change that and say, okay, so I've listened to what you've said. I'm taking on your point of view, but actually I disagree, and this is where the business is going to go. And I think for me, that's one of the skills of being a leader. I mean, I also think that there's a big piece about people almost being empowered to take the lead, even if they're not seen as the leader, so they're not the MD or whatever. How do you see that working in different businesses?
Yeah, I think you've made a really good point. I think the first bit is to say that actually leadership and management don't necessarily go together, and we will all know just from, you know, even just hearing me speak now, you will think of a manager who was a really rubbish leader. And so I think it's not necessarily about job title and whereabouts you are in the hierarchy of a business. If anything, modern day leadership is actually about collaboration and a collective leadership. So that idea of that you have a team of people, but actually they've all got strengths and skills in different places. And I generally think you hire people to plug gaps in your business rather, or promote certain areas in your business. So play to people's strengths and recognize that actually they will have strengths in areas that you don't have strengths in, and that's a great thing. And you don't have to kind of keep creating this hierarchy. It can be very collaborative. And I really advocate for that, because I think the sort of caricature of a leader is almost that. I think of a politician when I think of a leader, and actually that's a very sort of what's that word where you like condescending. It's very sort of we're better than you, we're going to tell you what to do, and that's not leadership at all.
No.
And I suppose the point is that it's also really subjective. So if I'm delivering this as a bit of a training course, you know, and let's say there's 20 people in the room, I would say, what does leadership mean to you? And it's the same with confidence. What does confident leadership mean to you? For some people, that, you know, leadership is very much about sharing and caring. For some people, leadership is about being really clear and assertive. For some people, it is about playing to other people's strengths. Literally, you could get a whole plethora of answers. And I think it's recognizing it is subjective, but ultimately it's about getting the best out of people. It's about a role model. It's about fostering trust. What that looks like practically will be different for everybody. But I think it's recognizing your own strengths, knowing who you are, being comfortable in your own skin, and kind of accepting when other people have strength in a certain decision making over you, but also celebrating that in other people, and kind of that collective leadership.
Yeah, I think one of the main challenges, and especially from, like I say, if I use my personal experience of starting a business where you're doing everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have brought in Sophie and Chris, who's not on the call, and we've got freelancers and other support people and people who do that. One of the difficulties, I think, is when you're used to doing something, is knowing when it's the right time and being able to handle this, is to kind of say, okay, so this is now yours, and I'm going to trust you to do that, and lead people in a way that you allow them to explore it their own way without being a micromanager, and effectively giving them the leeway to kind of get over and manage it on their own, but still managing expectations. So there is that thing of being friendly and open, but still having that ability to kind of to stop somebody when it's not going right, but to praise somebody when it is going right. And that's a really tricky balance.
It definitely is, and I think it really depends on what the tasks are that you are potentially delegating or outsourcing or whatever. And I think you have to, I don't know, it's subjective, and I think a lot of what I end up saying is it's up to you, but I'm kind of thinking, you know, there's certain tasks that need to be done in a certain way, and whether that is because it's a legal thing, or whether that is an ethical thing, or whether that is just because you like it done in a certain way, that's okay. It's okay to want that, and it's okay when you delegate or give that to somebody else to do, to ask for that to be done in a certain way, and to pull people up if it's not. And you can do that really formally through policies and procedures, or you can do that informally. But a real big theme in a lot of what I talk about on a one-to-one basis is that kind of does your employee actually know what you expect of them, or are you kind of assuming it's in your head that they can pick that up? So that really sort of, I think, to refer it back to the first question about what is leadership, it's that real kind of clarity of instruction, that checking back, making sure somebody is comfortable. And it's not micromanaging, but if you really want it done in a specific way, it's making sure that they know you want it done in that specific way. Or there is the opposite side of it, like you were talking about, which is about kind of letting go. And I think when it's your own business, it is like giving your baby away. I absolutely can totally empathize with that. And I think that becomes, again, about clarity of communication. It is about really making sure that potentially at the beginning you're holding hands a little bit tighter, and then you start letting go, and then people can flourish. It really depends on what the task is, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, because it is that kind of, especially when you've got a job plan in your head, and then where you think the job might have been at that point, you're kind of going, well, I can't see it yet. Where is it? And it's easy to kind of jump, and a lot of the time you have to kind of check yourself and go, no, it's all in hand. We'll just give it a little bit longer, and then it'll come. And it's a tricky playoff. It really, really is. Again, it's one of those things that I'm trying to get better at, for me personally, because I want to expand the business, and I know that I can't keep doing everything, and I can't keep a tight hold on every single end and turn, because otherwise, well, I might as well not have anybody else. I might as well just do it all myself and be a massive bottleneck. And if I'm a bottleneck, then I can't lead the business. And that's what I do. So I'm guessing you've seen this situation a lot of times. So what's the kind of advice you give somebody who is feeling like a bit of a bottleneck?
I think it always comes down to the individual. So many people get in touch and they'll say, my staff aren't motivated, or people are feeling, I don't know, the sense of well-being at work is not great, or how do I make people actually achieve their targets and their KPIs? And so much of it comes down to the individual. So it's about the individual being okay with who they are, what they want to keep. I tend to talk about it in 3 different areas. So I tend to say it's about reflection. So what's working, what isn't working, which bits do you want to keep, what are your core values, what are your beliefs, what are your strengths? Let's play to that, work out who you are, what bits are you. And then it's the second part is about understanding. So then it's kind of understanding how that has to be communicated, but how all these other people that are potentially involved also process the information you give them. And it's kind of, that's recognizing things to do with different ways people are motivated, different ways people feel appreciated. Some people will feel appreciated because you've given them Friday afternoon off. Other people will appreciate that you've recognized them in a meeting and said, well done, that was brilliant, in front of all their colleagues. So it's that understanding piece. And the second bit is taking action, because so many people reflect, do consultations with staff, for example, and then do nothing. And it's kind of, you have to follow it through as well. And that I use that process in anything, whether that is teaching people about confident leadership for a day, or whether that is working on a one-to-one basis with the CEO to problem solve a challenge. It's always about reflection. Let's understand in reality what the problem is here and how other people are perceiving it, and then let's do something about it in a way that plays to your initial strengths that you've reflected on, and plays to people's expectations and understanding of the situation as well. I don't know if I answered your question then, or if I just went off on one. But
I think you did. It's one of those things where I'm quite a reactive manager. So I'm kind of, oh right, I've got an idea, let's jump on it straight away. And some of the team seem to quite like that. Other members of the team maybe go, oh, I'm not sure. Can we just think about that a little bit more? And I guess I need to work out how that works with me. And you say understand how that works for the rest of the team, because obviously how they're thinking is really key.
Sorry, Rich, you just froze.
Sorry.
I didn't quite get the very end of what you just said. So I got the bit about you saying you're quite reactive, and obviously some people want to think about things a little bit more, and then it froze.
yeah. So I am kind of I'll wake up in the morning and go, right, I've got an idea, we're going to do it, and we'll run with it. And that suits some people and not others. So I need to work out, how I can still do that, but bring people in. And maybe that the reflection element, maybe what I need to do more is, once I come up with my idea, have a bit more reflection on my idea personally before I share it out and try and get other people going on it. I am
Sure.
that kind of person who'll wake up in the morning and go, right, I've got an idea, we're going to build a boat, and we'll go, right, stop everything else, we're building a boat. We're not building a boat, but you know what I mean? I am that kind of person who'll come up with an idea and go, right,
Yeah.
this is where we're going.
Do you know what though? That's a brilliant reflection, because you now get to do something about it. So you've done the reflection, your understanding is going, I can see that actually there's parts of the team that, you know, this doesn't quite work for. Maybe I should start doing this. The taking action bit is kind of working out where you go from here. And in my head, as you were talking, I was kind of thinking, well, my first thing would be play to your strengths. So absolutely play to that strength. It's totally okay if you are somebody who is spontaneous. I mean, that says entrepreneur through and through to me. That's the characteristics of an entrepreneur. But like all personality traits, it's a spectrum. So, you know, if you say extrovert and introvert, you're not one or the other. You know, no introvert is never ever extroverted. No extrovert is never ever introverted. It's just that we kind of flex on the spectrum. And so, you know, if you were to go risk taking versus risk averse, and I'm typically using that as entrepreneur versus not entrepreneur, but actually you kind of, either you can go for it and you can just sort of deal with the consequences afterwards, which is typical of a lot of one person entrepreneurial enterprises, or you can go, hang on, there's other people in our team here that will just balance that spectrum a little bit. And I think it's not about denying your values and your personality. It's about saying, how do we mitigate any risks that my entrepreneurialism might bring, or how do we just think it through a little bit more, using other people's personalities. And I can tell you, it's really, really easy to try and to kind of collect people who have the same mindset as you. And so it tends to be a bit of a bias. Then you find some organizations where everybody's really creative and entrepreneurial, but actually maybe they're having financial difficulties as a result of it, or maybe they are, I don't know, whatever other things. So actually having other people around you in your team, and in your family and in your friendship group, it's not just about work, that are different in different personality traits, actually that it makes you more robust and more resilient.
I think that balancing point is really important. So my balancing point a lot of the time is my wife, and I'll say, oh, come to this, and she go, well, really, you sure? Because she's quite, when I started the business, she was like, no, get a proper job, and then I started it, and I got working. She's like, okay, well, it seems to work in now. That's fine. But if I'd gone,
as soon as you lose a client, they're like, oh, maybe you should get a proper job again.
Well, and in the early days that did happen. It's like, oh, right, okay, well, maybe you should think about it again. It's like, absolutely. Well, no, I'm plowing through, and here we are 4 years later, and it seems to, but that's not to say she was going to be wrong in the first place. It's just a different direction.
Absolutely.
But I think you always do. You do need that balance, and I think there are so many instances of companies and governments and all these other places that have yes people, and you kind of see people going yes, and all they're doing is kind of boosting the ego of that leader, and just by just saying yes, actually it can escalate out of all control, and you do need those checks and balances.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Absolutely. I'm the same with my husband as well. Oh, we had many conversations of, why don't you just get a real job? And it's good actually, because he's very, very intellectual. He's very kind of cerebral, he's an academic, so very much a researcher, reads a lot. And I'm very much creative and playful, and I don't really think too much about the risks. I don't mean that in a, not totally.
No, you mean
very much that creative entrepreneurial spirit, and it balances it. And so it's actually quite nice to think about it in your relationship, but actually that's a really, really valuable thing to have amongst employees as well, and amongst teams.
So I mean, I read a lot of books on business and leadership. Some are awful, some are quite good, and they never ever deliver that silver bullet that the book cover promises. It's always like, this is the way to lead, and they never ever manage that. So I guess I'm going to put you on the spot. If somebody came, let's say Sophie came to you and says, Hayley, I want to be a better leader within the business, and I want to develop so it sees me as a leader, and we'll push that through. Not that Sophie needs that development, But if she did, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to become a leader? Because I know when I first started off, when I was the marketing executive, I was gagging to be the marketing director. That's what I wanted to do. And it was always like really frustrating. You're banging your head, and I don't know, with a little bit of guidance and some thoughts, maybe I could have streamlined that a little bit better than maybe I did.
Yeah. Good question. I think there's a real reason why the most popular service that I have is one-to-one coaching, because there's only so much you can get out of a training course. And I say that, you know, I don't mean to belittle my training courses, but actually on a one-to-one perspective, whether you do that professionally with a coach, or whether you do that through journaling or meditation or reflecting as a result of reading a book, I think it's always the reflection piece. So first of all, work out which bits of you are the bits that you want to shine, which, you know, who are you as an individual? And I think so many people actually don't quite know that bit yet. It's kind of who am I, and therefore which bits do I want to promote? You know, let's talk marketing, right? It's what's your USP. And so therefore those are the bits that you need to start showing off, and I mean that in a natural way. It's about being authentic and being kind of unapologetically you. So if you are somebody who's entrepreneurial and creative, and you don't yet have a role that is allowing you to flourish in that area, and you'd like to move into that, start suggesting things in meetings, start kind of being that creative person that you kind of get known for those skills. If you're somebody who actually you're a really good critical thinker, so actually you can see holes in things, you can see where problems might arise, whereas other people are going, you know, all guns blazing. Start being that voice of reason, because I promise you it'll get noticed and valued. And so I think it's that, understand what you want to put out there. That brings up fear. That really brings up fear for people. A lot of the people I work with will say, I'm really worried what other people think, or imposter syndrome. So, you know, who am I to be doing that in a meeting room or at the board meet, you know. So there's a really, really good book by Brené Brown. She's got quite a few books. There's Dare to Lead and Daring Greatly. And that's about vulnerability and bravery. And she is a social researcher. She has a doctorate in, I think, social work, I think. But all of her research is very much about vulnerability, and how actually as leaders, if we are vulnerable and we're real human beings and we hold our hands up when we make mistakes, people really connect. So I would say kind of get educated as well. Learning is probably my favourite word, my favourite thing to do, and tell everybody else to do. But read as much as possible about empowering people. You don't have to have a management role to empower people at all. And actually, do you know what? If you can, it's almost like reverse engineering it. If you can start managing your manager, you'll make their life easier and they'll love it. So it's almost like just start proving yourself. You know, get out there and start it. And I think if fear comes up for you, do something about it. So that might mean you have to heal something that's in your past that's stopping you moving forward. That might mean that you need to learn some public speaking skills, but it's almost get entrepreneurial on it. So, you know, if you face a business challenge, let's say, I always use this example, but let's say the chief executive of Apple launches the new iPhone and it doesn't sell any. He doesn't start going, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm never going to be able to be a leader, it's never going to work. He goes, okay, what went wrong? It problem solves the challenge. So, you know, if you're, it's about switching your mindset to, what do I need to do to learn, or what do I need to learn in order to sell this phone? Do I need to learn more about the, you know, maybe I got the price wrong, or the marketing wrong, or the model, or whatever. It's applying that same, I call it thinking like a CEO. It's that problem solve what you need to learn to get to that next stage, rather than just, I can't do it, you know. I was bullied as a kid, therefore I'm not confident anymore. Like, that's just so learn to let it go, whatever that means to you.
And you're right, because to a business owner like myself, or like anybody, I guess, to a business owner, if you've got a team of people who act like that and think like that, it actually helps everyone. It helps everybody through. But I think that does come also from a leader who is willing and open to accept that. Because I've worked for businesses where if you said something like that, you just be slapped down. A lot of those businesses are not working anymore. So that tells its own story, I guess. And that's the kind of leader that I want to be. Sophie's probably sat there thinking, well, you're not all the time, which is fine. But I'm trying to be that kind of leader. I
And
want
that's
to
the
be that
main
kind
thing.
of person who opens up to that, and it's hard.
Yeah, and I love it. I love that humility, because you're a human being. We get things wrong, right? We're fallible. And just by saying, I'm out there and I'm learning to do this, this is what I want to do to grow, that's amazing. That's not saying this is the way, the only way, I'm the way, the truth and the light. You're not saying that. Don't say that. It is very much about, I'm learning this process. I teach people about confident leadership. Are there occasions where I'm not confident in my own leadership? Of course, because I'm a human being.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm willing to go, okay, this is the thing that's bothering me right now. How do I learn to problem solve that and get over it so that I become a better leader and just a nicer human?
Excellent. Sophie, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Not necessarily ask. It's just like certain things you were saying. I was like, yeah, of course. Like, it just clicks, doesn't it? Like, even what you were just touching on. There's sort of like a quote, isn't there? It's like, dress for the role you want, not the role you have. Something like that. It just made me think of that straight away. But no, it was all very useful, to be honest.
I love it. Thanks for saying that. I think it's I talk a lot of people say, oh, confidence is about dressing in a certain way, and we do kind of associate, don't we, leadership with a certain sense of style or dress.
Yeah.
I think it's about dressing in a way that feels comfortable for you as an individual. So I'm somebody who, I mean, you can't see my whole outfit here, but there's slits in there's no way that I'm wearing a long sleeve thing on a day like today, right? But I feel comfortable and I feel most confident when I've got my red lipstick on, and when I'm looking feminine, because that's who I am as an individual.
Yeah.
So I think it's playing to your personality that will help you be more confident. But there's loads of stuff you can do. I didn't mention role models, which probably would have been a good one. That if you're an aspiring leader, or you want to kind of work your way up somewhere, or you want to take on your first management opportunity, or you want to start kind of inspiring people, look at who inspires you, because you'll notice personality traits and values in them that you kind of go, if you watch a TED talk, or you watch you're at a conference watching a presentation, you kind of go, God, they're doing that really well. I love the way that they connect to the audience, or I love that they posed a question there, or kind of look at what role models you have in your own life, even celebrities and stuff like that, and kind of apply it then to your own personality and let that shine through as well. I think we can all kind of go, oh, I really remember that really great teacher, or that really great manager, or that really great colleague. Well, why is it they were great? How can you be more like that? Equally the other way, those really awful ones. What can you really
be like that?
Yeah. The awful ones are just as important to remember, aren't they? Absolutely. Okay, so I think unless there's anything else, I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been lovely to talk to you, Hayley, as always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this talk will soon be on YouTube this afternoon. We've got another 2 talks coming up. We've got one next week with Jonathan Hurst of Network Marketing, and then we've got one after that with Jem Henderson of Tech Nation. I was going to say Tech North, but it's Tech Nation. We changed the name. So yeah, if after you watch this you want to sign up for that one, that'd be great. It'd be great to see you. So thanks again, Hayley. Been great to speak to you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.